Hello, hello, everyone. Today I'm sitting down with the gorgeous Charlotte. Charlotte and I met many years ago, actually in Portugal, which I'm sure Charlotte will also tell us all about because it was actually you, Charlotte, the other day when we bumped into each other, who was like, Josie, I know you, and it's from Portugal. And I think you had a lot more amazing facts come straight into mind than I did. So I'm excited to hear about that as well. But to our listeners here, I asked Charlotte to come on because everything that I know about you literally just shines gorgeousness, wisdom, vibration, connection, a deep desire to want to understand oneself and the world that we live in through experience and through curiosity. That's really sort of what I was picking up. And then when I started looking around a little bit, I was like, oh, she's also an actual doctor. And wow, she does this and she does that. But without further ado, Charlotte, welcome, welcome. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Josie. Yeah. Actually, how you describe me is quite spot on. I've not heard anyone describe me like that, not even myself. And that is, like explore humanity through experience and to share that with others of what it's, the trials and tribulations of being human or being a soul in a human body, rather.
Right, 100%. Like the whole contrasting experience. I'm so with you. But Charlotte, tell us a little bit. Tell us, first and foremost, let's hear in sort of like practical terms, what do you actually, how do you spend your days? Well, how do you spend your time on this beautiful planet? Yeah, my partner just decided to come home, but it's very live today. It's very real. It's fine.
Yeah. At the moment, I'm still in a phase of transition between working in the NHS and having my own private practice and holistic business.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I love it. I love it. That is so beautiful. And also how those two worlds intertwine and how, where they differ and all of that. That's absolutely amazing. Okay, well, to understand how you became who you are today, let's take you right back in time. So, Charlotte, where were you born? Who were you born into? What kind of family setup did you grow up in?
Yeah. I'm very lucky actually. I mean, obviously, there's trauma in everyone's family, but I was born the third out of three siblings, and in South London. And so I've got two older brothers. Both there's 6 years between me and the eldest, and three between me and the middle. So 3 years between each of us, which was very mathematically arranged by my parents, not consciously though, not consciously at all. And both my parents are still together. That they still live in the same house that they've had all three of us in. So it's like this whole house of like a generation, two generations in a way.
Oh
Um,
my God, Charlotte.
yeah, it's really cool. And my grandmother, who just reached the 100, she just passed away, but she lived in the same house and for the whole of their. So yeah, there's two houses in the family that have just existed. So it's a lot. Our family's quite sentimental and nostalgic, and holds on to like really good values. So I was brought up with, I think, really important core values like do as you would be done by. And that has always stuck with me. It's like, if you want to be treated nicely by anyone on the planet, then do the same to others, regardless of how they treat you. If they treat you like shit, then okay, be compassionate and say like, okay, I don't want to spend time with you anymore, or highlight what the problem is. But you don't need to punch them in the face. You can do it compassionately, and you can set healthy boundaries. But also, you said about community. That's my family has been always a close knit support network for each of us. And anytime any of us are going through something really challenging, we all come together. So when my eldest brother's daughter was born, she had a congenital disorder and had to have several operations. And we all just went to them and just like dropped everything and go. And that's kind of what my family does. Like we just drop everything for the rest of the family and come together, knowing that sometimes the most basic things of helping someone eat, sleep, and just do the day is what you need. It's not about kind of like, okay, what's the future going to be like? It's like, how do I do today? And that requires community and support. Yeah.
Oh my
Uh,
God. I love that so much, Charlotte. And also because I so agree, our life is made out of everyday moments. And if the everyday moments are not working, our life will not be working. and we have to go back to the everyday, and we can always sort of like trace it back to the everyday, the mundane, the habits that done with joy and intention becomes rituals, right? Like I absolutely agree. It's that thing of, actually I'm going to give you a personal example. So you know when we go to bed at night, and I lie there. I'm very blessed. I have a wonderful fiance now. I'm engaged. Wow. And he hugs me in bed, right? And I lie there and I'm like, this is the best moment out of the whole day. And it's not because I'm going to sleep. I find it really hard to really sort of, I know sleep is so important, but I get so excited about life. So I'm like, come on, Josie, get to sleep. But my point is that the most basic thing, him hugging me in bed, and that's the last thing I remember before I go to sleep. And it's the first thing I see when I wake up is him hugging me again. Like I fall asleep in a hug, I wake up in a hug. And honestly, that fills my heart so much. Yes, I love what I do. Yes, like lots of beautiful things during the day, but something as basic, as simple as that. And if that is not working, nothing is gonna work. Like it's the everyday life, and finding the beauty in the everyday life and the sustainability in everyday life. And anyway, so just listening to that whole chat about your family sounds amazing. And also I hope you can relate, but I always relate everything to nature. And as you were talking, first of all, I was seeing your family and those two houses you were talking about, this big house, and I saw like this great big tree that is just rooted down more and more and more and more, and then every time another child is born into the family, there's just a little branch that's added and another root. But it's like this great big tree, almost like a dew tree, because the dew is hollow inside, right? And so it's this really spacious dew tree. And then what also came to mind was that thing, like you said, when that thing happened in your family, like you all just dropped everything and you came together, and it's a given. It's not a big, oh, do we do this? Do we do that? It's like, no, this is the culture of our family. These are our values. And it's almost like, and I know you'll hopefully you'll appreciate this, with the intelligence of the body, the intelligence of cells, right? So the intelligence that sometimes a cell will be like, you know what? For the greater good of the organism, I'm just gonna like release myself, right? As in I'll sacrifice myself. And it's not a sacrifice like a terrible, oh no, it's just this makes sense for the greater good of everything. And I think this is a really potent thing that I hardly ever hear in conversation. So wonderful to hear that. Okay, but anyway, back to you, my lovely. So where in South London?
The hospital is St Helier Hospital. It's just outside of London. It's Carshalton. But we're in South London, so it's the nearest hospital. And I was born quite a big baby. I was 10 pounds 11 ounces, which is big because I was the third one, so each one got bigger. But that had a big impact on my mum. She was kind of like, "You're really big," and I was like, I wasn't the one eating." Like if you'd eaten less, it would have been fine. I don't know. But that was a very long baby. There's a photograph of me next to another baby born like the day before, and I'm almost twice as long. I look like the obstetrician said I looked like I was one already. So
Oh my God.
I was just like a big baby. But
oh wow.
I hardly ever get sick. Like I have a really strong immune system. Physically, I don't get sick. Mentally, those are my battles. But physically, my body is a very strong, healthy, like fit body without having to do too much.
And also for listeners that can't see you right now, Charlotte is absolutely gorgeous. Like you always look super healthy, like just radiant, this vitality. So I'm just sitting here like, yes, this makes sense that you don't get sick. Like you're literally like, rah, sparkling. Now I want to ask you something. What's the first memory you remember? The first memory you remember?
Oh, that's so cool. It's difficult to know which is the first one, but there are many in the garden. Most of them are out in nature, so we're really lucky. Not very few people get this nowadays, and even when we were kids, it wasn't the norm. We had a back alley, so that we lived in a group of terraced houses, and each house had a garden, and then behind that there was a back gate onto an alleyway. And then there's an alleyway joining up the road at the end, but it meant there was a safe place that all the kids could play, and behind the alley was a park. So we would jump over the fence and play in the park. So it meant that I was picking flowers, making stews, in inverted commas, like herbal remedies, just playing outside, making mud, like, yeah, doing things like that, really getting outside and being with nature. And I found that incredibly healing and grounding and connecting, and also just playing with my brothers and playing with the other children in the street.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that, Charlotte. And thinking back, do you remember a time in your life where, and it doesn't matter what age you were, but when is one of the first times where you remember going, I want to do this, I want to do this thing, or I want to become this, or I want to be able to teach this or share this when I grow up? Do you remember that thing?
Well, actually, in kindergarten, kindergarten or year one, I remember, you play, what are we going to be when we're older? And there are the outfits like the doctor, the fireman, the nurse. And I remember definitely playing with the doctor and nurse outfits a lot. And it was only when I was 15 doing GCSEs that my dad said to me, like, you're really good at studying. You should be a doctor. And I remember saying to him, no way, I'm not going to do that. And then 1 or 2 years later, I'm applying to medical school, and I'm like, oh, okay, something happened. Yeah, actually, when I was about 10 or 11, my dad was in Boston for a sabbatical, and so we went over and visited him a lot. He stayed there, and we traveled every holiday to visit. And he took us to things like the planetarium, and also to the original IMAX cinemas, which were like properly 360 degrees. Like the ones in London are not 360, that's just a big screen. This
So
was
true.
mind-blowing actual 360. And there was we went to loads of documentaries on turtles, on seals, on otters, and I got really obsessed with marine biology. So for a long time I wanted to be a marine biologist, and then I realized actually what that entailed, and I was like, actually it's not that fun. And another one, I was a volcanologist, because that's really cool, like going and looking at volcanoes explode. And then again I realized that's quite dangerous. Like, I decided to filter them out. And the reason I ended up choosing medicine was only quite late at the last minute, right about at the point of applying to universities. And it was a combination of things. I'd done some scientific research, a week in a research lab, looking at petri dishes, like with agar jelly and like stuff, cells, and it was interesting. But I looked at the lab assistant next to me. I was like, "Are you really going to do this for the rest of your life? Because this is a very small thing." And my dad's a professor of medical physics and cancer research, so he spent his life in a very particular niche that you then very much specialize in. And something about that made me feel uncomfortable, and I thought, this isn't for me. I need to be engaging more with people. And so then I started looking at different universities, and a friend gave me the advert for St Andrews in Scotland, and I just looked at it and thought, that's my university. I'm not going anywhere else. It looks like Harry Potter, and it teaches medicine in the same way that Oxford and Cambridge does, which for me, I knew that by already being an overachiever, I would probably die if I went to Oxford or Cambridge. Like, genuinely, I would die. And I was like, I'm not going to do 12 weeks crammed into 8 weeks. I'm going to university to have fun, not to kill myself academically and come home and then sleep for 2 weeks. It was nonsense for me, anyway. And so St Andrews gave that kind of an experience, but more. And I was like, cool, great, this is for me. And also the Scottish Highlands, being far away, getting to hike, and the medical training was amazing. So that's when I was like, right, I'm going to do medicine, because I can work for NASA, I can work for the army, I can do Medicine Sans Frontier, I can travel, I can do charity work, I get to help people, I get science, I get maths, everything, geography, anatomy. It fitted everything. So yeah, then I went to St Andrews and did 3 years there. Absolutely loved it. Was hiking every weekend. I know Scotland like the back of my hand now. And then went down to because St Andrews didn't have a hospital, so you had to do most of your science first, and then the second 3 years of a 6-year degree, you go and do all your time in a hospital. And so I went down to Preston, which is part of Manchester Uni, and did 3 years there. And again, I loved it. It's a really awesome little hospital, and it was only a 45-minute drive to the Lake District. So
Oh
I was
my God.
great. So I was like, more mountains, more mountains. So yeah, that was a massive thread for me. Nature is an immense pillar of support in my life.
100%. And let's just like dive into that a little bit, because that's also where you and I have such a deep connection with the whole nature thing. So I know you can't really see it here. Like I've got a little rose here, but otherwise our whole house is actually full of huge big green plants, as what you can see behind me. And it's also like in our bedroom, Carla's always like, Juicy, we're kind of like, there's more space for the plants than there is for us. We call our flat, we're really blessed. We've got a big roof terrace and we've got plants everywhere. And people keep moving out. So they keep giving, they pass on their trees. So we now have a magnolia tree, we have 2 olive trees, we have 2 eucalyptus trees out there. Anyway, we call our home the Sky Garden. And so I just wanted to really dive into that, because similar to you, I also had a background where an upbringing. I was really, really fortunate. Although I did grow up in the city of Copenhagen, my great grandmother had a gorgeous wild garden, and I was pretty much always out there. And I spent hours there by myself, and so I similar to, and also my kindergarten was also outdoors. So I was always outside, and similar to you, I was like putting rose petals into water, making these little potions, and like all of that. And and I also actually just wrote an article yesterday about crystals, and the magazine was like, ooh, can you write about, because I do this like aromatherapy and crystal facials, and they were like, can you write about the wellness aspect? And I was like, no, but I shall write about the magic of crystals. And I was doing my little memoirs yesterday, because as a kid, which I'm sure you did as well, like all kids pick up stuff, right? But I was really fascinated, especially by rocks. And it didn't matter if it was a crystal or a stone or any kind of rock. And I would just sit there for hours staring into it and feeling this sense of communication with the stone. And whether or not you did that, or you were more into like, being with the kids outside, or if you also had those quiet moments, because I had so much time on my own as a child. Just that thing of nature, and how nature always meets you where you are. And nature never judges you. And nature, this is something that I kept returning to throughout my whole life. And it used to be that I didn't know why I did it, and now I understand why I did it. But back then it was like, I just loved going to the trees, and I just, not only did it feel grounding and peaceful, but when I grew up later on in life, it became this thing where even when everything in my life felt like it was a tornado, or like, there was this massive eruption going on, I would go over and I would literally hug the tree. And I just kept telling myself, this tree has seen it all. It stands here during winter. It's here when it's summer. It's here when it's crazy hot. And the tree is just the tree. The tree is like, it will be what it will be. And either way, life goes on. It's okay. Like, I just kept going, like, give me your strength. Like, show me how to be a tree in my own life. Because I always felt like I was just knocked over by emotions. Not even events, but just like, oh, no, there's this and there's that. And so this whole thing of nature, and nature, not even like as a separate, ooh, I go there for the medicine, but like we are nature. And for me, being in nature, and even if I can't always be outside, like bringing nature, welcoming nature home inside. Just, it really gives me a real sense, almost like a permission slip to just be.
Yeah. In terms of having so many plants indoors, it's making the difference between indoors and outdoors less, so that there's more of an equilibrium, so that it's not like, wow, indoors is this kind of crystalline, I don't know, palace of nothing, no living beings, other beings. Because plants teach you how to be. They're just sitting there, and we are plant based, so
100%, right? And that's also why, like, I'm loving this podcast already, because when we open up today, and listeners, you don't notice, but the first thing Charlotte and I were talking about were all your plants behind you, and it's like so true. It's that thing of like, none of our plants will ever go like, oh, I only want to be a meter tall, so don't you dare, as a human being, we're the only species that is always reflecting and stopping our own growth in so many ways. And so, yes, tell us more about. So I just want to share one thing.
We also met in nature.
Let's go back to that. So Charlotte, please take us back, because I don't even remember what year it was. I remember we were in nature in the wilderness of Portugal.
2017. It was 2017. I know, because I the reason I know is because I'm obsessed with Boom and Boom Festival, and it's an amazing conscious festival in Portugal that I think has, I don't know in terms of statistics, but for me has been one of the most profound exemplifiers in the conscious festival scene of how to do a festival of a large scale that is environmentally friendly on a water level, on a like electricity level, as much as they can. Obviously got massive speakers that do have to be, I don't know if they're solar powered, but compost toilets, yeah, a lake that is still clean, an environment that is able to support a living community for the rest of the year. And the fact that they have one big party festival with a really great healing area and on one year, and then the second alternate year is a more healing festival. And so that's where we met at Being Gatherings, which, yeah, is an incredible collection of amazing healers. It's like world-class people coming together to teach incredible workshops that are mind-blowingly trauma healing. It's like each time I go, I'm like, whoa, I've just cleared so much. This is amazing.
Oh my God. And Charlotte, I'm so, I'm sitting here like, I'm so happy you remember everything because, and I want to know why you actually went, because I was asked to come and teach there and I had, and I was on another job. I didn't even have time to fill out the application to teach. So one of my clients actually applied on behalf of me. She was like, because she's a journalist and she was really good friends with one of the women that sort of host the whole thing. And she was like, hey, you gotta meet Josie. Josie's really good. And so she was like, I'll fill out the application for Josephine. And so next thing you know, I got asked to come and teach there. And then, I got asked if I wanted to bring some musicians. So I brought some friends of mine along to do the music. But honestly, I had done zero research. I knew nothing about the festival. I didn't even know a lot of the things that you just shared now. So I'm just sitting here going, wow, you know so much about this. And I felt like I was just like a snowflake that kind of like popped in, did a little thing and left again. So tell me, had you been going for many years before you and I met, or what brought you there specifically that year?
No, my first year was 2016, but as soon as I experienced it for a day, I made a pact with the land. It wasn't even like I had to think about it. It was just an acknowledgement of, I'm coming to visit every single year. You have something on, unless I physically cannot.
Yeah.
I've even seen me with a pregnant belly there. Like,
yes, yes.
Yeah, so that's the level of kind of commitment I have with that land. And it's not even a mental one, it's just how it is. It's just like my soul resonates with that land.
No, 100%. And I'm actually just going to pause for a moment because, as in pause you, if you don't mind, because this thing that you keep sharing, and I love it. And it's exactly how it's not even a conscious decision. It's the same way that I just sort of exist in the world. Like you said, I made a pact with the land. This is exactly right. So, I don't know if you know, but I've been running a lot of gorgeous retreats in Glastonbury. That was not a conscious decision. That was not a rational, oh, this is a great business opportunity, like at all. Like I went there when I turned 30 by myself. I literally woke up one morning, and it's not the festival, by the way. I woke up one morning and I was heartbroken at the time, completely going through the biggest heartbreak ever. And I woke up and I was like, and I heard this voice, go to Glastonbury. And I was like, rationally, I was like, none of that made sense. Like why and why now? And I didn't know anything about it. But anyway, fast forward, I grabbed hold of a friend of mine that is from there, and in a matter of 2 hours, I'd booked the ticket, I'd booked everything, and I went there. And the point for why I'm telling you this is, when I arrived, I got out of the train and it was evening, so I couldn't see anything, but I got out of the train, and the minute I put my foot on that land, I was like, oh wow. Like, not only did I feel amazing, but I was like, I need to continue to come back. And so it was instant. It was instant. And then after 2 days there, I ended up doing a shamanic healing training. And as I even told, that my teachers weren't even there. I signed up for a year's shamanic healing. And I told the receptionist, I was like, I feel like the biggest imposter ever doing this thing. I have no idea who these teachers are. I have no idea about fucking anything, but I've made a commitment to the land and I need to come back. And I'm a really practical person as well. And I was like, I know me. If I just come back, if I go back to London, I'm very blessed. I have a lot of work. I have a lot of opportunities. I will just get pulled right, left, and and then because I've already committed to those other things, I won't be able to say no, and la 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 la. Long story short, I was like, I need to have a reason to continue to come back here once a month. So I literally, almost like if you've got a tent and you go camping and you push down what is it called? Is it a plug, or what is it called? One of those metal things.
No, canopina?
Yeah, is that it? So so the tent can stay upright. So you push it and you plant it in the ground. I don't know what it's called, but one of those.
Tripod.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, exactly. So it was almost like I used my shamanic 1-year healing training to plant me into the earth, because I was like, now there is a real reason for why I need to come back, and I can't bypass it because I've already paid for it, and they're very strict. And they turn out to be wonderful teachers, that, by the way, but the point was, they were like, if you miss a weekend, you're not allowed to come back the next. So I just had to keep going back. And so I really get this thing of making the commitment, having a pact, having a contract with the land, or even the land calling you. And it's right.
Totally. Yeah, it does. And it's interesting because I have other friends that say the same about Glastonbury, and someone once said, I don't know, I haven't researched into the validity of this, but Glastonbury has ley lines, and obviously across the earth you've got magnetic field lines, and supposedly the land that Boom is on has a similar one, and so people of different kind of almost like karmic paths are drawn to one or the other, because if you got drawn to too many, you wouldn't be able to do your karmic work in this life. So you're drawn to certain places energetically on a soul level so that you can do the work that you need to do to heal and to evolve in consciousness. And that's why I know that I've been drawn to Portugal, and every year I meet a new partner. That sounds really weird. Sadly, they don't last more than a year, so I'm going to work on that. So.
No, but I mean, please share as much as you like about that, because in the end of the day, I completely agree. And also, by the way, so I know that you mentioned that your mom and dad are still together, blah 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 blah. But in the end of the day, regardless of the physical family we choose to come into when we land on this planet, we are each an individual soul with our each individual soul karma, right? And our contracts that we've made. And so I deeply believe, just like we choose the land and the land chooses us, and what we are longing for is also longing for us. Like, we're always being met halfway, and we're being met halfway for a reason. And usually that reason is way deeper than our gorgeous little ego wants to understand. Like the ego's like, oh, I'm in charge here and you should just stop doing this thing. It's like, no, there's something so much deeper at play here. So do feel free to share, Charlotte. I'm all ears. So I'm very curious about this one, if you feel up for it.
Yeah, it's really curious. So 2016, I'd already, me and my partner at the time had broken up, but we'd bought tickets to go to Boom together. And he told me about the festival, and we'd actually met at Psytrance party. So I've been into Psytrance probably since the last 2 years of medical school, where before that I went to freshers, like student union university, and was like, what is this? People are dancing to this cheesy stuff. So I never went dancing during university. I didn't really drink. I was very studious, and it was like hiking, exercising, or studying. That was me.
Three things.
That's why I look really young. But then when I heard Psytrance, I said to my housemate at the time, I'm like, what is this music? My body wants to move. And I was like, wow, I can actually dance. I'm actually creative. And so then she's like, Charlotte, this is ambient Psytrance. It's like, take me to where they play this music.
Oh no. 1 second. I got so excited. I have water all over the floor. Hold that thought. I am so excited. And I can't believe that this happened. That's very interesting. Wow. Oh my God. So basically, you went from having 3 things that felt like your identity to all of a sudden being like, I'm in love with dance. Like you said, this music makes my body move.
Yeah, totally. I'd led during medical school. I'd actually been anorexic for quite a while, and so my world was not only narrow because of medicine, but it was narrow because of anorexia. And then what Psytrance started to do for me was open me up to a world of acceptance, non-judgment, and love. Most people are on the drugs that they choose are MDMA and psychedelics. There's, it's not necessarily like, obviously ketamine can be classed in terms of the drug world, can be classed as is classed as a psychedelic, but there are other drugs that are less frequently used that other genres and other groups of the society who choose to take drugs choose to take, say, for example, cocaine. Cocaine isn't a very common drug in psytrance, and each drug has a different energy quality. And so thinking back to the original Goa trance in the 60s and 70s, it's all about love. And LSD, like the hippie era, it's all about love. And so I started to find tribe that were totally accepting of me in a way that I'd, during adolescence and some things to do with family, rejected parts of myself that I couldn't love myself. And so to then be met in that space of, okay, I'm not just the nerdy one. I'm actually attractive.
I actually have a body.
Yes,
and I like the body.
Yeah, totally. And it was like coming home. It was like my soul. In a style of psychotherapy I studied, the Rudolf Steiner, we talk about the soul incarnating into the body, and it's like the soul can fully embody. And if you can't fully embody your body, you're not going to be able to do your karmic purpose because you're not fully here. And so that's the problem with eating disorders, is that you separate, you're not fully in your body because the body's a scary place for whatever historical trauma. And so what psytrance started to do was help me heal my eating disorder. Yeah, because of the community, because healing comes through community, because the parts that are rejected in sort of community as well. So you've got, or lack of community, both. So yeah, and that's where I started to meet friends, partners, because there were people on the same page. They were non-judgmental, they were accepting. It was kind of like, cool, we looked after each other. And that, after a while though, I got a bit fed up of the London, the underground scene, and kind of that's where I started to go to festivals, because it's all open air. You don't have to be in a underground or like indoors, and that was massive for me. And so in 2016, went to Boom for the first time. I was like, this is amazing. And me and my ex were just on great terms. And that year I met another partner for a short period of time. And then in 2017, I heard about being gatherings, and I was like, I'm going. And I went on my own. I was like, I'm happy going places on my own when I know my soul is called to go there. And at being gatherings, I met another partner for a while. And then in 2018 was the next Boom. And then I took, I think, 2018, I think I went with another partner. And then 2019, there wasn't anything on because of COVID. 2020, no COVID because of COVID. And then 2022, went with some friends. 2023, met a new partner, which was like, they're always beautiful, amazing romances. Incredible, really. And we're not together now, but we're on really good terms. He sold me his van, so now I have a little van to convert, which is amazing. So I love it. That kind of lifestyle of being more connected to nature. That's my main purpose, and also to be a bit more of a holistic healing wagon. And then last year I was being gatherings. I went again on my own and met another partner. And then we parted ways, and now I'm like, Boom is in 1 month. 2 months. I'm like, come on, Boom. Like, who are you gonna show me this time? And then I'm like, this time I'm gonna do more work to kind of, I've been on a long journey with different relationships because of my eating disorder. There's a lot of fear of rejection, and also an acknowledgement of, I have been able to demonstrate independency, and therefore I'd rather be on my own with the wrong person because of karmic purpose, because I realized that if souls join forces and they're not actually compatible but out of codependency, then you can obliterate your soul purpose in that life, and you can make it very difficult. And then if you have kids, or you have houses and mortgages or just things, it gets so much more complicated. So I've been very wary of that, and sometimes maybe a bit too wary, that I can cut off from opportunities out of being too practical or concerned about how is the future going to manifest.
No, I really get that. Wow, I mean, Charlotte, thank you so much for sharing. There is so much in here. Let's take a breath in and a breath out. Oh, honestly, just Thank you so much for sharing all of that. My heart just reaches out and gives you the biggest hug ever. That is so, so beautiful to share so much and so openly and so passionately with so much love for your own healing, but also for the healing of everyone else that might be listening. And I just want to highlight a few things because, again, I really believe that we come together when we're supposed to come together for the time that we're supposed to come together for. So first of all, you and me coming together here today and you sharing so openly about your eating disorder. And, you know, I always say, oh, I was anorexic when I was a teenager. And the thing is, I believe that actually once you have experienced that and you've gone into that part of yourself, it never leaves you. It's just, oh, I acknowledge that this part of me exists. And I also acknowledge where that part wants to take me. And then I have another 500 parts that are like, no, let's not go there. Let's go another place and let's share about it and let me get support. And you know, having the ability to live in the fullness of the experience of all that exists within all of us, right? I mean, you know, it's the aspect of a very critical inner critic is nothing new to anyone. It's just that most people don't talk about it and they don't share about it. A lot of people feel really ashamed, deeply ashamed. And especially if you're a therapist yourself, then people can sit there and go, oh, but I should know better. And it's like, of course you shouldn't. You're a human being. You know, we're all doing the best that we can. And also, again, like, in just like massive high five to you, because obviously it's what you do. But I always share it with people. It's like, I can only share with you the places I've been myself. Like, how can I mean, otherwise I can read 1,000 different books and then what? Like, I will never fully be able to know what it's like to be in your shoes. But at least if I have walked half of the way, then at least I have some kind of physical understanding of it. And, you know, you sharing that whole thing of like, you know, and again, if you're sitting there as a listener and you're like, oh, I don't have an eating disorder. Okay, very, very happy for you. But what we can all relate to is having a voice within our head that tells us who we are not, what we are allowed to do and what we absolutely mustn't do, or what others mustn't do because the world is scary. And like you said, with that voice, if we don't question that voice, or if we don't create spaces within our own experience where we are allowed to stay compassionately curious and we're allowed to just experience life instead of having life figured out. If we don't do that, then we create a prison around ourselves. And I certainly done that so many times in my life until I was like, oh my God, my world got small again, you know? And then like, oh yeah, because I'm actually crazy fucking afraid, like so deeply afraid. Okay. And that's not, oh, we pushed scared Josie out. It's like, no, I'm bringing her home. Come on, little Josie, I really get it. Like, we're on a spinning rock in an ever expanding universe. And most things are unknown. So yeah, I just really wanted to share that with you.
Yeah.
Oh, yay. And hence why also, like, I was like, oh, we have another connection point. And hence why, again, what was really interesting about this whole nature thing is that, you know, when you were sharing about why you chose medicine and that you chose it, so you were like, okay, because I'm a high achiever and, you know, but what you really said was like, I chose it because there would be lots of hiking nearby. Like, you chose it because of the location as well, right? Like, that was a big deal. And having that, and then, you know, like, and it was also close to the Lake District. Again, the location. It was like, it was almost the bridge to get you to where you really wanted to be.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And how it also highlights how important environment is. And thinking back to days where we were more nomadic, environment was survival. You needed to go where the water was, where the trees were for shelter, where it was for firewood, where it was for animals to eat. And so people who go just for the job, they'll end up suffering, because you need to go where you want to be and then look for the work, because your environment is what's going to make you happy, because that's what we really need.
100%. And it's also, again, relating back to nature and relating back to being a plant, because, you know, as human beings, we always think we're so complex and complicated, but actually we're not above our environment. Okay, if you have to go and work for a specific time in a specific place, and there's no other option, I get it. But honestly, and there's certain things you can do to support yourself the best way that you can. But in the end of the day, like if your soil is not nourishing you, a plant cannot grow and neither can we.
Yeah, definitely. It's like trees. I like your analogy of being a tree. I've often thought that, and a lot of my artwork is being a tree. If I do a lot of art therapy, both for myself and offering. It's one of my favorite things because it allows you to bypass the conscious mind and bring up subconscious material very quickly that you wouldn't be able to do just through talking. And a lot of it's to do with trees recently anyway, and historically. And it's this, you need to have really strong roots to be able to offer out a massive canopy. And if you keep trying to offer a canopy before you've got roots, you just fall over. And that can be an explanation why people might keep having repeated crises or not getting where they want to go. It's because, have you looked at your roots? Have you really been digging deep and supporting yourself environmentally, socially, like physically, all these things that we need to look at? And it's only, you can only go as high as you've gone deep.
100%. And that's actually something that's always, yeah, I'm so fascinated by trees, and it has always been, again, my own inner anchor point every single time I notice that. Because again, in my own experience of life, most people that know me, they'll be like, oh, Josie is always so happy and excited. And it's true. Like a lot of the time I have a sort of like eternally positive, sort of ever like, it'll probably work out attitude to most things in life, right? But at the same time, I have huge ability, and also absolutely can go super deep into, like, as much as I can go higher, just as low. So as in, like, I can feel extremely sad, like I can have grief that comes out of nowhere just as everyone else can. But my point is the same thing with sadness or with anger or with a sense of hopelessness, like all of it. And it always, especially also when people come to me and they're like, oh, but Josie, you're always up here. And I'm like, no, I am absolutely not. There is no way, that I would be a human being, but also that I would be able to hold the space for others in the way that I can if I had not acknowledged that all of the other exist, and that you can only go as high, exactly like you said, as you're willing to embrace your own depth. So it's exactly that same thing with a tree. So as listeners, if you don't know already, when we look at a tree, the height of the tree and the height of its branches and the height of the trunk is completely equal to the depth of its roots. So as above, so below. And that's always a really nice one, especially if you're someone that, again, as a listener, not everyone has had the privilege of diving deep inside themselves out of necessity or out of whatever it was. Also a lot of people are super scared, and a lot of people are really fast-paced life and all the rest of it. But when you notice those big emotions, the emotions that we're like, oh, it feels great to feel in love and feel excited, and then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, well, what the fuck is this one, right? And it's like, oh, we don't want the kind of sadness or the anger or whatever it is, but that those emotions are just as valid and comes with just as valid messages for all of us. So just that thing of the roundedness, the above as below. Without your ability and embracing the depth, you won't be able to fly. Yeah. Oh, but anyway, Charlotte, I want to hear, I'm going to pick up my 5,000 white roses that fell on the floor in the car. I think nature was just like, wow, we're excited. Can you tell us something about, so you're saying you've got your own gorgeous practice, and you're saying you're using art therapy.
Yeah.
And what else are you offering up? I'm super excited to hear about it.
So I'm in the process of building my website and I'm getting a logo designed and things like that to have more of a professional representation or presentation of myself online.
Yeah.
But I offer art therapy, which is like, one-to-one. We do some art in a session. And most of it's online at the moment, so I can do it anywhere with someone anywhere in the world. And that can be a single session, or it can be multiple, either going over the same piece or doing repeated new pieces. And I find it completely profound. And I've done it since 2019 actually myself as a process, and that's why I love it so much. And I trained in it to be able to share it. And I also offer psychotherapy, so more just general talking, and with maybe popping ideas in there of but it's based on Rudolf Steiner's philosophy of trauma theory, how our developmental years affect our later years, and also how that can be used to understand what our karmic purpose is. So it's all soul related. That's why it's like spiritual psychotherapy, and I love it. It's like fairies and magic.
Oh my God. Okay, so now you got me hooked. So my mom basically, she studied Rudolf Steiner as well, and she used to work in a kindergarten. So she was working with the development for kids, and she's like the biggest advocate for like looking after kids and empowering kids and all the rest of it. But I'm super excited about this thing that you said of how what we experience in the early years. So I would imagine from being born up until year 7, that's what we normally call the very super important years of a human being's life, right? Because they sort of lay the foundation. But could you tell us a little bit about how that thing of, you said, looking back onto those years and understanding the traumas that took place there can help us understand our soul purpose? Because I understand how it can help understand our traumas and how we can go in and help it. But that thing of like, oh, so maybe it's a thing of like how the trauma that you experienced at a specific age, that specific trauma holds the key to your specific soul purpose. Would that be right? Something like that?
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not just the first 7 years, it's actually the first 21.
Ooh.
So the idea is that you have septennials. Every 7 years, we go through a new phase of development. So the first 7 years, as you said, is very important because it's laying the foundation. And that's particularly the way we think, because it's our nervous system. It's being in the body. So if you have a trauma, like literally a physical trauma, like an accident, falling out of a window, a car accident, a trauma to the body in those first 7 years, that's going to be imprinted in your nervous system. So that at any point in the future, you may have a fear of falling. That will be because you've had that experience before, or you don't like driving fast in cars because you've had that experience in that. It will be, or if you've been an experience of abuse, then that's going to be ingrained in your body if it was before the age of 7. And then the second 7 years is 7 to 14, and it's called the etheric body. It's like the chi or the pranic body, and that's related to plants. And so that's really interesting, because then that's in a time when you can be doing things in later life, things like yoga, pranayama, qigong, tai chi, energy work, and you'll be helping heal that layer of your existence, not physically but also spiritually and in time. And then 14 to 21 is the final septennial, the 3, and that's when it's called the astral body, which many people are familiar with, astral projection. And that's the body that actually I like to think of it like Russian dolls. So each body sits inside the other, and each one needs to be sufficiently developed in order to hold space for the next one in the way that it's meant to. And what trauma does, or impacts to the body, or those different phases, impacts the ability of that segment to hold the next one. So if you have it repeatedly in each septennial, then you're going to have fractures in that capacity to hold the soul. And the idea being, if you had a perfect development, which no one has, by the age of 21, your soul would be fully in your body, and you'd be like, great, I'm ready to do life. I know who I am, I know what I want to do, boom, I'm off, like the train's gone. That doesn't happen to many people. It's more like by the time you get to 41, you're like, cool, I think I know what I want to do. Like, if you're lucky, maybe 65, you're like, and some people never, they just potter through life, and that's fine. It just depends on what kind of a life you're wanting to live. And I think those who are more soul seekers will start to notice, and these are probably the ones that have either have had crises that wake them up to the necessity to do this inner diving, or just out of curiosity, it's coming from a mindful approach of like, wow, actually I want to understand, not because I'm going through something difficult, but I'm just curious, more from a philosophical, studious point of view. So to answer your question, if for example these traumas happen at different phases, and you're sort of managing after 21, you go and do your things, but then later in life you might get cancer, you might have a heart attack, you might have an eating disorder that really gets to the point where you're like, shit, I can't do this anymore. Those are the things that force you to wake up to, hang on, something's not quite right. And mainstream medicine would say, it's just cancer, we need to treat it with this. It's just an eating disorder, we'll treat it with this. And actually, when you come at it from the spiritual perspective too. You can say, okay, that's sort of true, but we also have this completely other component that is being missed. And in someone who's experiencing recovery or treatment for cancer, they're going to meet a lot of people. They're going to start questioning, okay, what do I need to do about my diet? Other than chemotherapy or surgery or radiotherapy, what else do I need to do? Hopefully. I mean, some people don't, it's just that's that. But others may actually think, I need to go and have some therapy. I need to work through this. I'm going to survive, but I need to work through this. And so the working through that experience or that crisis can bring up material from childhood that links to the cause of that cancer in childhood. And so that you've got someone like Gabor Mate who says autoimmune conditions and cancers are related to suppressed emotions, for example, but also trauma and adverse childhood experiences. So that can then, for example, if you chose to then go to therapy, you could talk about these things, and that would probably help. This is a hypothesis, but a lot of the anthroposophical studies have shown that there is improvement in people who go through therapy, because they're then dealing with the core material from these 21 years of development that are impacting the current phase of life. And in doing so, you then may discover new parts of yourself that weren't accessed in those developmental years, that bring you more opportunities in the now. Or, for example, you may then seek out healing modalities that you need to be able to recover from what you're going through. And so, for example, you might find an amazing new diet that then you're like, wow, I need to share this diet with people. And then that becomes your karmic purpose. You're now a chef and you're sharing these amazing foods with people. Or you, to recover from a traumatic experience, you find that breath work is really powerful. And so then you train in breathwork therapy and you start becoming a breathwork therapist, and you're like, wow, this is me. So that's how I see that your trauma can become an aspect of your karmic purpose.
100%. And I mean, that's basically the story of my life. So I'm just sitting here going, yes, 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 and yes. No, but I love it. Like I wrote this thing the other day, sometimes your greatest pain can become your greatest purpose. And there is so much truth in that. And also, I know we only have an hour together here today. So I know, again, as listeners, this can sound very much like we are just, scooping through something that is so deep and so multi-layered and so multifaceted. And, that's not to take anything away from anyone's experience. Obviously, it's not just, hey, you just need to go and do the work and then, yay, your pain could too become your purpose. But just that thing, even if someone's listening today, Charlotte, and I know you really, really did believe in that too, like even if just one person from today goes, oh my God, fuck. Maybe there's real light here in the darkness. Maybe actually what I've always been wanting to push away, not only am I ready to get support with it, but actually, fuck, and I keep swearing because I'm so passionate about it. Maybe my pain, maybe everything that on a level I decided to go through, and I like that. I decided to go through XYZ so that I would know in my bones what it feels like to be in that place, so that then I can help whoever comes into my life. And when they, I'll create a space where they feel safe enough to share it, and I will not judge them the way I used to judge myself. And I will not tell them to just shut up the way I used to do that to myself. And I will, instead I will hold their hand and tell them that there is nothing they can share about themselves that would ever make me judge them. So I really, that really speaks to me. That's super powerful. And
I got goosepimples.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm crying here on the other side.
Because it makes total sense. It's the way I approach my clients. It's like you help people suffer. My motto is, if any of what I've experienced can go to value of helping someone else suffer even just a little bit less than I have, that's the job well done.
100%, Charlotte. And I feel so deeply also that that's why even though at the Being Gathering, even though I didn't spend a lot of time with you there, I felt such a genuine sense of connection and care to you. Like I met you and I was like, I always get a really strong feeling about people, but my main feeling is actually just whether or not someone is genuine. It's okay, you're getting your visitors as well. Yeah. It's a visitors kind of day. Carlos never coming on a podcast. He's here, you guys, all good. but community, right? But you know, like that thing about you and me, like this thing of like there is no bullshit, like nothing about you or nothing that you do is about performance or ego, or you know, it's really just this, right? And I'm exactly the same. It's like, oh my god, I couldn't care less. Like it's not about, I know my podcast is my name, but that was just out of ease, and I was like, well, everyone will be able to find it. But the thing was like you said, if the pain that I've gone through can help just one person, you know, feel better, know that there is another way of living life, then it was worth it. Like this is so, it's such an important thing, because in a life that is so fragile, for many so short, you know, it is always our choice to look for the golden nugget in every single experience we have, or to choose to not go that way at all, and that's everyone's choice. But yeah, I feel so connected to you, and just wanted to really be like, I see you and I'm super proud of you. And oh, Charlotte, we'll put all the details for all your amazing art therapy and the other modalities that you offer in the notes in the podcast, so everyone can come and see you. I really love this whole thing of how you have a very 360 holistic approach to healing and to empowering and to holding space for people. And it's exactly the same thing that I do. So it's like, mine is called, well, now I call it Grail Healing, because I was like, well, let's use my name for once. And now it's Grail Healing. But in short, it's everything, and it continues to develop, right? Because everyone needs different things. But what I really love about your approach is that it's an embodiment. Again, it's the divine is in the body. It's not out here. God is not out here. God, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, life itself, life force is in us. And creating a space where we actually want to be in the body. Like you, when you started dancing and you were like, oh, body is good. I feel not only is body safe, but body feels great, right?
They have them for a reason. And I think it's, that the body is God's gift to us as a vessel to house us through this life. And it's really important to take care of it, but also to enjoy being in it. And the less we damage it, the more we can enjoy being it, and also the longer we can be in it and enjoy it. And I think that's something that it's one of the reasons I take such great care of my body, and I do look healthy, is because I take great care of it, because I know how precious it is. The Buddhists often say this precious human life, like you're given this life as a human being, your soul is in a human body, this life, which is amazing, because we could have been an ant, we could have been anything, but we're a human. And to really take care of it, but also to share the practices and say, like, sometimes it is hard, but other times it's really fun. It doesn't have to always be hard.
No, 100%. You're so right.
Process.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And the joyful and the pleasure of having senses, right? Like the pleasure of taste and sight. And you can see the people that you love, and you can see the colors, and you can hear, and all of it, and the touch. And oh, yes. No, this is a really, really good point as well. My lovely, I want to ask you, because I could speak to you all day, Charlotte. With everything that you've experienced so far in your life, so I know you've experienced so much, and you have such a great level of depth and understanding and awareness, and above all, compassion with yourself and with, you know, life itself. But if there was just one or maybe two soul messages that you would like to share, what would it be?
Yeah, I think all the challenges that I had, particularly the ones in the last few years, they've brought me closer and closer to the concept of God, or God consciousness. And it's a bit cliche, but this idea that it's really not your way, it's God's way. And therefore you can surrender, that you don't have to worry so much. And I think all these challenges, these like massive slaps in the face or like fall downs, they're so that you realize you're not in control. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this so that you wake up, you don't have to worry. I'm doing this so you realize it's not on you, it's on something much, much greater than you, and therefore you can let go. And that's, so these repeated traumas and hits are in order to let go, so that can take the pressure off, that you're not being punished. It's not because you're a bad person, it's actually you're being given a gift. Every insult or injury, not someone literally punching you in the face, but these life experiences and challenges are there as gifts, because they catalyze healing, but also have the opportunity to bring you closer to your inner divinity and to the divine within you. And in the greater cosmos as well.
And I love that so much because oh my God, you and I are so similar. I'm gonna have to get your birth date in a second. We're checking that out in a second. Like, listen in. But I just want to ask because I keep having this thing that keeps saying, first of all, let go and let God. And again, whatever your concept of God is, for me, it's just life force. I don't life intelligence, life. I don't know life, but whatever word resonates with you. But and then I keep having this other thing, which is there's a much bigger plan here for you. There's a much bigger, and so first of all, something as mundane, because again, we love everyday life. So, you're standing waiting for your tube, and the tube is, the train breaks down, and now you're inside the tube and it's broken down, and so you can't make it to a thing. And I'm not saying it's easy to always just go, oh, this is probably for a greater purpose, but actually, from where I sit, it really is. It really is. And so, if there's anything that I know I asked you, and then I'm like, but I just want to add in this little thing, like, practicing living in this way of surrender is just so beautiful. Living in a way of surrender, it's like even in the mundane moment, oh, your tube didn't come, oh, good, oh, goody, oh, yay, something better. And even if that something better temporarily causes discomfort, in the long run, we don't know if that tube had come, maybe it would have, sorry for the expression, maybe that would have been an explosion. And actually that was the end of your life. Like, we don't know. And also we don't know by standing on the platform for 10 minutes later, maybe you're going to meet the love of your life. We don't know. Like, there is so much we don't know, but because we don't know, we have two options. We can either go, oh, it's probably because bad things are happening. Or we can go, oh, maybe there's something better, like something else. That's something which created you and I, and it continues to breathe life into you and I, and that brought us here on the planet, and that decides how long we stick around for, wherever we go next. Why wouldn't it have a bigger plan? Because everything, again, if we look at nature is super precise, like crazy precise, and you really know this, like, if my temperature, if I jump up and down and my temperature starts to go up a little bit, my body will be like, let's start to sweat, let's release some heat. Like, it's all taken care of. It's all taken care of to the tiny little microsecond, And so why wouldn't our life, why wouldn't that be part of it? So that thing of, like, exactly like you said, complete surrender. And then also that other thing of, it's not just about my life and my thing. It's the greater, it's the community. Just like, how you said, how we started out with you saying, actually, when something happens in the family, we're all on board straight away. And we might have our own individual things going on, but like when something like that, we're all on board. And I think having that sense that we're all in this together, in the end of the day, no one comes out through life alive. Like, we're all going through this time and space reality, right? Making the most of it in the best ways that we know. And even that brings us in the same, let's hold hands, let's hold each other's hands, let's walk each other home, that sense of community. So anyway, back to you. I'm just sitting here going, yes, surrender, surrender, surrender.
No, totally. You've led on to my second one, which is linked to community. And that's the necessity of seeking support. Like, whatever you're going through, when things get hard, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, we have this conditioning in Western society, particularly, that you're stronger if you face it on your own, or you're meant to face it on your own. You're meant to be an independent individual. It's like, you're an individual, but you are no way independent from anyone else. Your food is reliant on 100 other people, 100,000 other people. Everything, your water, your electricity, everything is reliant on everyone else. You are not independent at all. Yet when we face challenges, then the necessity to be independent comes in. You're like, where did that come from? It's so weird. Like in the wars, they didn't fight on their own. They fought in a massive army. It's like, so like one soldier going across no man's land and be like, I'm gonna kill everyone. It's like, no, they had a whole army. And the same, it's so easy when you're facing a difficulty to be like, oh, shut down, I've got to deal with it myself. And so I think my biggest message there is really to remember to have especially if you're going through a difficult time, have a post-it note on your fridge saying, like, don't forget to ask for help, don't forget to call a friend, don't forget to go to your GP, don't forget to go and seek out support for whatever problem you're facing at any point in life, because you're actually meant to. maybe that's actually the reason you're getting this challenge, is to seek people out, because they're the stepping stones. Not only could that be your next best friend or the next modality that you're meant to train in to then offer out, it's building a network. And linking back to trees, humans are like the mycelial network. So trees communicate with each other and spread information of, you know, bacteria and parasites and things that need to be killed, but also positive information and energy and nutrients. And I think humans are the same. We're all connected, and some people are more connected because of soul frequency and soul purpose. And so you're meant to follow and ask for help, because the reason, if you didn't have this challenge, you probably wouldn't go and meet these people. They might not happen by chance. You have to be given a quest. God gives you a quest to go and seek out these people. And so turning it on its head, and I still struggle to ask for help when I'm in challenges, and because of all that conditioning. But when I do, then I see the benefits of it, and it's like, oh, why didn't I do that sooner? Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm just sitting here going like, you saw my thumbs up, which no one can see. I'm like, yes, 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 and more yes. And it's so interesting, exactly like you said, that thing of you get a thing, whether that's a pain or whether that's a challenge, could even just be like your window breaks or whatever it is, something where something forces you, like there comes a point in every human being's life where it's at some point you'll have to go, fuck, I can't do this by myself. And then you reach out, right? And like you said, like that thing happens. So again, that gives you a carrot. It's your bridge. You have to now go and connect to someone else. And the bridge that you're holding in your hand is that broken window or whatever. That gives you the reason. That gives you the in. Oh, yay, I've got that thing. So now I'm allowed to actually ask for help, right? But what's really interesting is that what created that condition in the first place was your deep sense of loneliness and your deep sense of disconnection, because it's always rooted in the inner critic, which is like, hey, 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 you're by yourself. I don't know, my inner critic for some reason has a really low voice. But you know, it's so interesting. So in that, I wanna share a little story that I love so much. So this thing of being seen, right? So we reach out for help, and actually, as a human being, and this is so good that you said that we are not here to do anything by ourselves. Very few things actually by ourselves, because otherwise we would have a planet to ourselves if we were supposed to do it, right? We are here 100% as a collective. And the healing occurs when we witness. The same way with meditation, we allow ourselves to witness all of the emotions, trying to not judge them, right? And the same thing from person to person. The healing occurs when we allow ourselves to be seen by another. The healing occurred when you were in that amazing festival, dancing up and down, and you were allowing yourself to be seen, and the group was seeing you and you were seeing them. It was a complete gorgeous mirror that was taking place, and the healing occurred sort of naturally. It was an embodiment, right? So here's a little add-on to that. So healing happens when we allow ourselves to be witness and with someone we feel safe with. But we can also do that in nature. So we go out into nature and we witness nature, right? But actually, and I heard this the other day, and I hadn't thought about it. I don't think I've ever really thought about it. Ask nature, not just to heal you, because that I've done a lot, but ask nature to witness you. So you go out into nature and you're seeing the tree and you're feeling the tree and you're feeling its energy and you're giving energy to the tree and you're receiving the tree, but ask the tree to witness you, to really see you. And even if you're not in nature, in your home, ask the home to see you as much as you're seeing it. Because we're always in relation. So I just wanted to add that on as a little caveat. That was something I heard the other day and I was like, I love this. We can ask our surroundings to see us. Ooh, it's interesting, right? So it's not just us looking out. The outer world is actually taking us in too.
And then what do you see as a result of that? Like, do you start to notice more flowers? Because actually the flower, that the world is then mirroring what you are. Is it
Perhaps. Perhaps, yes. But I think it's also the fact that you then notice that you're always in relationship. And that means you're not alone, even when you're in your own home. And even if it's something that can look very solid as a chair or your wall, it can be anything, but that your home is witnessing you, is seeing you, taking you in as much as you are seeing your home. So then you're no longer alone in your experience. Yeah. So there was a little food for thought there.
amazing?
Charlotte, this has been magnificent. I've learned Honestly, I've learned so much by you and just being in your amazing energy and you sort of I know again for listeners, if you watch YouTube, you can see the whole amazing podcast here and you can see the gorgeous Charlotte live. But if you are just listening, Charlotte, you just remind me so much of like, I hope this is okay with you, but like a nature fairy. Like I see it as like nature fairy and I love it so much. It's just so beautiful. Your energy is amazing. Charlotte, I'm going to ask you, is there any final words that you want to share? But otherwise, let's stop here because we could keep going.
Yeah, no, I think those are all the amazing salient points, and I've really enjoyed the discussion. Yeah, I look forward to hanging out.
100%. Listen, I'm going to pause the recording. I'll see you on the other side. And to listeners, just thank you so much for listening in. And you find all the details about Charlotte. Please go and see her. She is an absolute being of light. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm just going to pause.